Greetings, Habs addicts, and welcome to part one of my mid-season Montreal Canadiens video report card. I figured, everyone tends to do a video or a report card on sort of mid-season, how the Canadiens are doing, how they're playing so far, the individual players. I did one last year as well, but I thought this year, I'll throw a little curveball in there and I'll do something with video. I had a suggestion from Simba008 on hockeybuzz.com who told me I should have Habs memorabilia behind me, and I got my Canadiens flag, my car flag out, but as you can see, I'm in my kitchen, and well, there's nowhere really for me to put it. So I'll work on that. But for now, let me get into the meat of things here. So what I've done is part one, I'm talking about just the forwards. I haven't included any players who played 20 or less games, who played less than 20 games this season. So players like Max Pacioretty won't be in there. Players like David Desharnais won't be in there. I also haven't included any players that have already been traded, Maxime Lapierre, for example. Apart from that, I'm hitting all the players. Tomorrow I'm going to be doing defensemen and goaltenders. So, here we go. Starting at the top with the captain, Brian Gionta. I give Brian an A-. Why do I give him an A-? Well, he's been great. He's been a good leader for the team. But he had that period at the beginning of the season where he really struggled while playing with Scott Gomez. That wasn't really, now that after he went off his line and went up against his line, you could see that wasn't really his fault so much. Gomez was really sputtering. Apart from that, if I look at things here, Gionta is first with in the Canadiens with goals scored. He scored 14. He scored more than Mike Camilleri. The thing that concerns me a bit is he's got a -1 rating. That's a little bit bothersome, but everyone on the Gomez line right now is in the minus. So because of that minus, he gets an A- rather than an A. Mike Camilleri, I give Camilleri a B. He's been good. He's had stretches where he's looked lost out there, but overall he can do a lot more, and we all know that. This is a guy who should be scoring 35 plus goals a year, maybe even 40. I mean, last year at one point he was on pace to score 42. This year he's on pace to score 25. Now, 25 goals is nothing to sneeze at. It's great, but we need more out of him. He's being paid $6 million. And it's not even about the money. He's a sniper, and he needs to be scoring 35 plus goals for the Canadiens. Something's not going right there. So I just don't like sort of the body language from Camilleri. A lot of the times on the ice, he looks kind of lost and maybe even sulking, unhappy. I don't know what the problem is. I don't know if he's not happy with the way the system is, if he doesn't like playing defensive. Whatever it is, he can produce a lot more. Next on my list is Thomas Plekanec. He's hit it out of the park. He gets an A+ from me. Plekanec is and has been the Canadiens' most consistent player this year, and he's been their best player. At one point it was Carey Price and Thomas Plekanec who is the best player. There's no question, hands down, it's Thomas Plekanec. He's the best Canadiens player, and he's the best in all three zones. Defensively, he's great. He plays on the power play. He plays on the PK. He is, if I look at his points here, he's first in points for the Canadiens with 32 points, and he's tied for second in goals with 12. So he can't really do it much better. Next on the list is Andrei Kostitsyn. Andrei Kostitsyn I give a C. We all know he's struggled a lot this year. He's struggled with inconsistency. He's actually struggled with that since the beginning of his career with the Canadiens. This is a contract year for Andrei Kostitsyn. He needs to show more. Right now, if I look at this, he's on pace to score 47 points. He's got 21 goals. He's got 21 goals and 27 assists. That's what he's on pace for. He does have goals, so it's not all bad with Andrei. And he has had flashes where he's looked really good. He's been aggressive. He goes to the net. But then other games he looks lost, and he's kind of floating out there. And then Jacques Martin benches him, and then he wakes up for a game, and then he's gone for a shift, then he's back for a shift. In a contract year, you need more out of a player like this, and you'd expect more from Andrei Kostitsyn. I personally would not be surprised if he does not finish the year in Montreal. I think that Jacques Martin is not fond of him as a player. He's not a Jacques Martin type player. And playing on the first line with Kamal Panesar, he's a player that needs to be able to score at least 30 goals. So 21 goals, it's just not going to cut it. Next on the list is the second line center, or first line, however you want to call it, Scott Gomez. Gomez I give a C+, and the only reason he gets that is because he's sort of had a revival lately. not uncoincidentally, since Max Pacioretty's been put on his line and since he came back from a brief stint on the injury, out with injuries rather. Gomez, over his last, what does it say here? In his last 12 games, he has 21 points this season. 12 of those points he's had in the last 10 games. So the last 10 games he's absolutely been killing it, which is great. But at the same time, he's a -7. For a player who's known to be defensively responsible, comes from the New Jersey Devils system, that's unacceptable. He can't be a -7, and it shows that weakness on 5-on-5, which is not a good thing. With Gomez right now, despite his turnaround, he's on pace right now for a career low of 10 goals, 33 assists, and 43 points. 43 points is the career low. That's not good enough. I'm not even going to bring his dollar value into it because he's just got an abusive contract, which, that's not his fault. If my boss decided to overpay me, hey, I'd be pretty happy too. But he's just got to produce more on the ice. -7, that's just not good enough. Next on the list is Benoit Pouliot. This is another player, kind of like Andrei Kostitsyn, who's also in a contract year. I give Benoit Pouliot a B-. And the reason I do that is Pouliot is inconsistent, just like Andrei Kostitsyn. Perhaps not as often. The good thing with Pouliot is he's played most of the year on the third line. With Matthew Darche, in the beginning he was there with Jeff Halpern. Now Lars Eller is sort of taking that spot. Lars Eller got benched. Desharnais called up. Desharnais taking that spot right now. So those two seem to be the wingers on the third line. Pouliot in a more obscure role, not having to play against the top defenders, has done well for himself. I mean, right now he's got 7 goals and 10 assists for 17 points, and he's only averaging 11:39 of ice time, and he doesn't get any power play time, or very little power play time when he does. So he's doing well. He's producing points. He's on pace for a career high of 35 points this season. That's great for a third-line player, but the Canadiens, I think, at some point were hoping that he could be a top-6 player. I think he's really looking like he's not a top-6er, and maybe that's okay. He's in a contract year as well. He's making about $1.35 million a year. So if the Canadiens would look at him and say, you know what, we're going to keep him as a bottom-6 player, we're going to re-sign him at around $1.3, $1.5 million over 3 years, let's say, and you're going to be a bottom-6 player, you're going to get us our 30, 40 points a year, and we won't even worry about trying to be a top-6 forward, then maybe it works. The only problem, again, just like Kostitsyn, is his inconsistency. There's been times where Pouliot looks like he's floating out there. He looks like, he's skating around the ice, and he's just kind of, he could catch the defender, he doesn't take that extra step, or he kind of puts his stick out, takes a penalty as well, and he takes a lot of those. That's stuff that I know Jacques Martin doesn't like that. No coach does, but Jacques Martin specifically doesn't like players that float around like that. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen with Pouliot, but he gets a B- from me for right now.